Alright, EM Hotep family. You're tuning into the Pro Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. Just remembered something. I forgot so you're tuning into the Pro Black Perspective on KWAZ Radio. What we're going to do today is what we're going to do. Well, actually, I'm going to start working on a new book. So I might change up what happens for the worship. Right now I'm working on this new book, so that's that. But we're reading Pan-African Wisdom, Ancient Ancestors, and as you know, you can get this book for free if you just click on the link below. Okay? Click on the link in the description, you'll see this book. You can also purchase it on Amazon. That could help me out a lot, but, you know, and that could help you out a lot too, because you're going to have the book, but, you know, it is what it is. Let's go. Page 1. So we're in January 2021. Welcome. This is the second week, the second Sunday of January 2021. A lot of things have been happening, but you know, who really cares? What really matters is what we are doing, and what we're doing is not enough. All right. So, or what we're doing, we could do more of. Let's say that. Right. So let's keep going. If crocodiles eat their own eggs, what would they do to the flesh of a frog? This is a very simple idea. You know, very simple idea. This is that truly, if something does injury to itself, what do you think it will do to you? You know, if it has access to you, you know? See, because the crocodile won't do anything to the frog that's miles away. Okay? The crocodile won't do anything to the frog that has nothing to do with the frog. Like, has nothing to do with the crocodile. Alright? If you were to try to, you know, relate this with current events, because everybody likes talking about current events. Let's say that, I feel like it might have been a few days ago, these conservatives, I guess, or whatever you want to call them, pro-Trump supporters, it looked like they were trying to stage a coup in America, you know, whatever. A really weird coup. One of them got popped in the face, obviously. But here's the thing, right? If the U.S. government, or let's say it this way, if the U.S. government was going to resist, and barely, I'll admit, but if it's going to resist and arrest white folk for storming their capital, what do you think it's going to do to you? You know? I mean, like people who were look at the video might say, hey, you know, the police seem to have assisted and helped him, you know? Sure, maybe, right? But the main takeaway is that, realistically speaking, you know, as most people would say, there's a double standard. Yes, there's a double standard. You know, there has to be a double standard. Everybody should practice a double standard. You know? In fact, you should practice a triple standard, to be honest. You know, there's a standard that you engage your family with. There's a standard you engage your friends with. And there's a standard you engage your enemies with, matter of fact. And there's a standard you even engage your strangers with. You should have a quadruple standard. You know? And the reality being that you are their enemies. Or you are their strangers. You're not their friends, and you're definitely not their family. You know, so yes, you know, and the main takeaway too, or another takeaway, is that if the crocodile does what it does to its family, what is it going to do to its enemy? That's the question. And I mean, of course, you might say, well, a frog and a crocodile are enemies. See, that you sound like a frog. You understand? You sound like a frog. If you don't think the crocodile and frog are enemies, you are sounding like the frog. Because you don't know your damn enemies. Because you think the crocodile and you cool. You think the crocodile don't think nothing of you. But the crocodile's thinking, I'm going to eat this fool. I'm going to eat this fool. I don't know why. Okay? And in fact, you know, this is actually one of the more interesting things I want to put in this next book. Because I need to actually think about this, pontificate on this, all right? But let me say it this way. By the way, if anybody's listening, make sure you like and make sure you comment too. But because otherwise I'm just checking comments for nothing. Right? But anyway, here's the thing I want to put in this book. There's this quote unquote theory of evolution. Okay, this theory of evolution suggests that all life on this planet is derived from maybe not the same, but possibly the same single cell organism. The thing is this, though, right? Look at this. That single cell organism, right? Another way of saying a single cell organism is bacteria, right? So the idea is that, well, I mean, like in some respects, right? But the idea being that essentially all life on this planet, that means the flora and the fauna, right? The animals and the plants, right? Or I should have said the other way, but still, the plants and the animals, right? All of them are derived from bacteria, right? And of course, this puts into question, this doesn't really put it, like, if you understand African spirituality truly, it doesn't really put into question African spirituality because you understand that these are, ideals and personifications of ideals. But on the other hand, you might be like, well, see, it's all both because, we're just bacteria, right? Either way, but it's really important to understand bacteria, and not because what bacteria does is that it moves. There's basic functions of bacteria, but mainly that it seeks chemical fulfillment. And I realized too, listen to this, I realized too that, a lot of what we're doing is really driven by our chemical composition and our own sense of chemistry, in the sense that, let's say even if me and a woman were to, talk or meet or whatever, right? There's a chemical reaction to that. There's, she releases dopamine in my body. Well, she doesn't literally, put dopamine in my body, but you understand that there's a dopamine effect. So I'm looking for dopamine in my engagement. But then you also say that, again, this goes into this, well, what are we really? And that's something that I would love to explore. I'd like to explore. But obviously, how to explore it is another whole question. But that's another thing that you want to grasp too. That this crocodile and eating its egg, it gets this chemical fulfillment. And this crocodile and eating this frog gets this chemical fulfillment. And it goes right back to just not just humans, but crocodiles and frogs and all that deriving from bacteria that would move and go to different, let's say different bacteria, different single cell organisms, or even different chemical compounds on the earth, like the salts and so on and so forth, and take that and absorb that out of this need to fulfill itself and its quote unquote life. You understand? And of course, this is the same bacteria. Well, not the same exact bacteria, because this bacteria is maybe 4 billion years old. But this is the same bacteria you wash your hands of. That eventually becomes, you who just goes out of who goes out of your way to kill bacteria. So it's a really interesting thing. But again, it really goes to the ethics of, you have to look at other entities. Right, you have to look at other entities and see what they are doing, and then judge for yourself whether you should be in proximity of them, whether you should not have a defense against them, whether you should not be resisting them. The frog who allows the crocodile to, man its schools, or the frog who allows the crocodile to hang around and hang about. This is the frog that is just looking to pass away. And unfortunately, this is one thing I was thinking of just earlier. If you're talking about the subject of black liberation, where you are and how you are surrounded, really makes a difference. I keep repeating this, and I want to repeat it again. The sister in this documentary, I didn't watch the whole thing. I saw the clip. We do that, right? Sister in this clip, for Rosewood, said, the lesson that she learned from Rosewood was to not be surrounded by white people. Okay? That's the lesson from Rosewood. Do not be surrounded by white people. All right. Anyway, so let's go on to the next one. I hope you guys enjoyed that. If you did, obviously leave a comment. But let's go right here. This is a good one right here. So this is, remember, these are ancient ancestral proverbs. So they already know. Look at this. An army without good planning is conquered with one club. And this is the truth. Okay? This is the truth. If you do not plan, and it's not literally like you could say not literally a club, but a machine gun. Or here's something that this white boy says. I think his name is Hilaire Belloc. He's allegedly an anti-imperialist, and so he has a couplet that I memorized because it was interesting. But it goes, whatever happens, we have got the Maxim gun and they have not, right? So the idea is that no matter what, like at the end of the day, regardless of the morals, regardless of the ethics, regardless of the governmental structure, regardless of the culture, regardless of the propaganda, regardless of the education, regardless of whatever it is, regardless of whatever the differences between Europe and Africa were, whether Africa had it superior or not, the white man had a better weapon. You understand? And when you have the better weapon, right, it is upon the one with the inferior weapon to do some really good magic or something. You know what I mean? Like you have to really like you're at a huge disadvantage. So the machine gun, what it does is that the machine gun is like you could move in with 100 people. Okay, 100 people, 5 machine guns. Okay, 5 machine guns, 100 people. And you could just stomp like 10,000 people. Okay, so African armies used to have like 10,000, 40,000, 100,000 people, but they didn't have machine guns. And what the machine gun does, and this is what the couplet is saying. The couplet is saying that no matter what, even if you give black folk rifles, even if you give black folk handguns, even if you give black folk pistols, the machine gun is just a grade above those. Just like eventually the tank is just a grade above a machine gun. Because you could fire a machine gun at a tank and it will just keep going and then explode you. And just the same, fighter jets, better. Just the same. A lot of times you have to, it's upon you to realize that the better the weapon gets. And it's the trouble too is that the machine gun is still, well, I don't want to say still, but the weapon difference between the technological difference, the military technology difference between black folk and white folk is just it's getting larger and larger, and so it still remains that one good club. Just like I said, like an army without good planning is kind of with one club. You could say in modern terms, because this is of course this is an ancient African proverb, but in modern terms you'll say, look, one good nuke. Let's say, I say, hey, and this is without good planning, right? Let's say without good planning, we're in the leadership of Africa, and we're all like just sitting, we're doing good, we're expanding, we're doing blah blah blah, and then unannounced, without us knowing, there's a bomb that explodes in our capital, wiping out all of the leadership in an instant. Vaporized. That's it. You understand? So if you don't plan for that, it's like those who fail to plan to fail. Now, obviously, there are ways to resist the nuclear weapon, particularly now. I'm not 100% sure. Maybe you could do underground bunkers, deep underground bunkers, obviously, but again, it's unplanned, so you would have to have surveillance. Now, again, that surveillance might have a certain range. And a certain, so you'd have to be able to move quickly into these underground bunkers, but you'd also want to be able to retaliate and have different zones unknown to your enemy could launch a counterattack, or even you would have to have protocols that are in place to counteract your enemies, or in place to have a new like a line of succession in a sense. You don't want everybody hanging out in the same area. You want, so on and so forth. You want to be dispersed. You want to be yada yada. And of course, that's not always the case. but it kind of is, in the sense that now I'm not going to say that the Americans thought of this, right? I'm not going to say the Americans thought of a serious nuclear bomb, but like if you look at the line of succession, a lot of the people are not in the same building. You know what I mean? So you have president, vice president, then like I think like the speaker of the House, then the speaker of the Senate, or the speaker of the Senate, speaker of the House, blah blah. Then you get like the judge. You know what I mean? Like you have the Supreme Court justice. It goes to different buildings. Now, obviously, they're all in the same city, so a good bomb is a good bomb. But and it's very unlikely that they would be in a different city. But again, when we talk about how far back planning goes, how far back or how far ahead planning goes, during that particular time, an explosive that could take out cities wasn't really something people could think of. So check this out. Somebody, Aloof and Dreaming 4 says, good morning, listening from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So does the raised and weaker position need plans before you even get access to the technology? Needs plans before you get access to the... yeah, of course, definitely. You cannot... you have to know what your enemy is up to. All the time. If you do not know what your enemy is up to, and this is like a basic war... strategy... A part of war is that you're in an advantage if your enemy doesn't even know what you're capable of. You know what I mean? It's like if somebody comes to fight me, right, and they don't know that I'm a martial arts expert, and I want to keep it that way right now. But they don't know I'm a martial arts expert, and they come at me like I'm not, right, then they're in big trouble. Now, if they're already prepared for me to be a martial arts expert, then they're not. And this is partly why when you have police raids, if you ever see a police raid, they're always kind of way more equipped than whatever it is that they're coming after, because you want to be way more equipped than whatever it is you're coming after. Because if in the example that they're under equipped, they'll get wiped out. You know what I mean? If they storm into a building, if they come into a building with if they say, hey, I suspect, if somebody calls and says, I suspect this person is heavily armed, right? Or I suspect this person is armed, right? Even with a pistol, right? You say, I saw this person with a firearm, we should go after them. Right? You should get them. They're a felon. They shouldn't have a firearm. Whatever, right? Then you will send in. And then if they said, okay, we're going to investigate if this person has a firearm, his head was a pistol. Let's go in with billy clubs or whatever. And this person ends up with like a machine gun, right? Then all those officers or those overseers are wiped out. So instead, what they do is they show up. They show they do the tactical unit, the SWAT team, figuring that that's the most equipped opposition they're going to face. Or figuring that it's enough it's enough to have a unit that breaks down the door, has body armor, has shields, has machine guns. Now obviously that's not necessarily going to be enough for every circumstance, but the idea is that you'd want to plan before you know whatever your enemy has, and of course you have to go towards getting your own technology as well, because again, this military thing that I was talking about is from the white man's playbook. Machiavelli has a book called The Art of War, and white people read it. Just like white people read Art of War by Sun Tzu. So yeah, definitely you want to, if you don't have good planning, you're going to be conquered regardless. So yeah, planning is utmost, but you also want to get a better club. All right, but thanks for the question. And of course, anybody else have any questions? Please feel free, because they're awesome to engage with. Let's go. Page 3. Page 3. If your part of the battlefield is covered with thorns, you do not leave your position and go stand where the ground is good. This is really important too. So this idea right here is another one of those war proverbs. But the idea is that sometimes sometimes you're somewhere that you're uncomfortable with, right? Or sometimes you're in a lost position. Like sometimes when I tell you guys, hey, look, America's a lost cause, right? You'll say, hey, but that just sounds like you're saying that the battlefield is covered in thorns. But you don't leave your position and go stand where the ground is good. That's wrong. No. It's like, no. Look, you can misconstrue that. Okay, you can misconstrue that in the sense that this is not your battlefield. Or I want to say it's not your battlefield in the sense that nobody's given you the order to stay. You know, if you were a part of a larger African organization, right, and you appealed to the leadership and said, and you didn't argue with the leadership, but the leadership said, hey, look, we need you to go to where the ground is covered with thorns, right? Or we need you to go to America and do X, Y, Z. Then that is your post, and you don't say, no, I'd rather be in Africa where it's, no, they're telling you what to do, right? But if you're just telling yourself, hey, you know what, this is my land, you know, I'm going to stick to it, that's fine, but that's not the same thing. You know, that's not the same thing. And in fact, if your leadership is telling you, no, 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 because a lot of us, when we're in America, we're thinking the ground is good. You know what I mean? We're thinking the ground is good. Like one of the things I'm noticing with America is that, or one of the things I'm noticing with wealth, let's say wealth, right, is that if you have, like, here's the thing. Here's what I want to say. I think I was gonna write it as a joke, but I forgot to. But it goes like, when you don't have money, right, you are complaining about the economic system, and then when you get some money, you no longer complain about it. You know what I mean? You no longer complain. Like, the economic system is really worse off for the people who are worse off. You know? But it's not really, but like, as far as I can tell, it beats a lot of other, like, it beats, like, if you're in a good position economically, it beats some other economic systems easily. You know, in the sense that, like I was saying regarding, you know, like, let's say investments, right? If you go into this market and you're patient and you're smart about it, right? You can, it's a gamble, okay? You can gamble your way to, like up there. You can gamble your way up there. You know? Obviously, you have to be patient, you have to be smart, you have to be so on and so forth. But one of the things with this gambling, but even if you were to not look to be too wealthy, you can gamble your money, right? If you have a lot of money, right? But you can gamble your money, and you can essentially do away with working, you know, technically. And I mean, like, the example I want to give is, like, let's say you have $10,000, right? You have $10,000 and you buy something, right? You buy a coin, or if you will, a coin or a stock or whatever, for 20 cents, and you sell it for 22 cents, right? Then what happens with that is, now, of course, it's not always going to go to 22 cents. It could go to 15 cents. It could go to 14 cents. This is why it's a gamble, right? But if you do that in a day, right? You buy it at 20 cents, it jumps up at 22 cents, right? You sell it at 22, then of course, you know, it does whatever it does, right? You don't care. You got 10%, so you just got $1,000 in a day. Okay? You just got $1,000 in a day, and you didn't have to do nothing. You didn't have to do no work. You didn't have to do no whatever. You just went and gambled your money, you know, and you got it. You still got the 10,000 grand. You still got the $10,000. You just got an extra $1,000. Now you can just pocket the $1,000, do that again with the $10,000, or you could go and try to gamble the 11,000. Who knows? Or you could try to wait for it to be 25 cents, and then it falls down to 14 cents, and you lost $6,000 or something like that. You know what I mean? Or whatever it is. I didn't do the math. But the point being, sorry, it'd be like $3,000. Anyway, but the point being that you know, you can do that. And you probably could do that in any economic system, to be honest. But the point being that a lot of times, you know, what you have, a lot of people are not really saying, hey, this is covered in thorns. They're looking at more, and a lot of black people, believe it or not, are looking at it like the ground is good, you know? Because you have your internet, you have your access to women, you have your access to food, you have your access to clean water. A lot of places do, not everybody, but obviously. You know, you have your access to things. So, you know, again, this is going to confuse you. The reality being that you have to focus on the first part, which is if you're part of the battlefield. So who decides whether it's your part of the battlefield? If you're deciding, you're not really engaged in anything. You know, you're not really engaged in anything, unless you happen to be the leadership of not just you but other people as well, and then you might be engaged in something. But for the most part, yeah, it's covered in thorns and all that stuff. I hope that was clear. If it wasn't clear, let me know. But yeah, you do not leave your position to go and stand where the ground is good. Like I said, again, a lot of people think that the ground is good in America more so. Because, again, if you're really realistic, if you're being realistic, like for instance, the coup attempt that we saw in America, right? It was very unsuccessful, kind of comical, yada yada. If that were in Africa, you would have a new leadership. A lot of places in Africa, if the police let in a bunch of people with their own charismatic leaders and all that kind of stuff, you would have a new leadership. You would have a new country. Easy. A lot of, because that's because when the police or the military, if you will, if the military is backing a certain individual for an extended leadership or for a new leadership or whatever, or a new government or whatever, then that happens all over the world. It didn't happen in America because it was kind of weak, it was kind of dumb, it was kind of, whatever. Like it was a nice attempt, I guess, but like in a lot of places in the world, that works. That's effective. And it's supposed to be effective. When you take out, if the current leadership has no protection, then it's easily replaced. Because one of the prerequisites for being leadership is to have protection. One of the prerequisites, in a sense, to being leadership is to have protection. It's like the question of, hey, Oni, why is Oni not a leader? Because I have no protection. Well, I shouldn't say that because now everybody's coming after me, right? But but I mean, like, I don't know, like compared to, like, you know what I mean? Like when I was doing my organization, I was like, yeah, I want a bodyguard. You know what I mean? But like outside of that, no. I mean, even when I saw Polite, right? And I was like, I was just saying something, and one of my brothers was like, he was like, oh look, he was like, look, he was pointed out Polite's bodyguards. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's something that you gotta realize, that a lot of people, like, they're not walking alone. They're not moving alone. If I see Omar Johnson, he's with somebody else who's got his back. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I don't walk with people who have my back, or I didn't walk with people who have my back, but that's a difference. There's a difference. So it's like, if you take out the bodyguards, if you take out the protection around them, then they are essentially defenseless. And if they're defenseless, they're no longer able to lead anybody. You understand? Because nobody's going to listen to somebody who's defenseless. Like, it's stupid to listen to somebody who's defenseless. Like, it's stupid. I mean, unless you're their defense. Unless you're their defense, it's stupid. But even if you are their defense, they're not defenseless because you're not the only one. Easy. A person who's rolling with like 40 people. And this is the science of gangs. In fact, if a gang leader has like 40 men protecting him, then each of those, like, even if one of them isn't faithful, he still has 39 people protecting him. You get what I'm saying? Now, if that same gang leader has, like, let's say 2 people protected, or one person protecting him, right? Then no, he's not really a leader. He's taken out easy. Or if you could turn all the gang leaders against the gang, all the gang members, or the gang members, bodyguards against the gang leader, then you take over the gang. Like, if they would rather protect you over him, you took over the gang. And this is just basic common sense. Now, I wonder if that was a bit of a distraction. Y'all need to tell me when I'm going on a tangent. All right, let's go. This one right here. Okay, this is so this is so critical to understand. For every joy, there is a price to be paid. That means everything that you enjoy has a price. Okay, everything that you enjoy has a price, and the only question is, are you willing to pay that price? And this is something I almost want to, like in an intimate setting, romantic setting, ask a woman, like what is the price? What is the price associated with our mutual enjoyment? You know what I mean? And of course, sometimes price could just be something like time. So it's not really that harmful. It's not like, oh well, you gotta pay money or something. You know what I'm saying? But like, that's a different type of woman. But anyway, it's not like that. You know what I mean? Like price could be, time. It could be, like for instance, I was with a woman one time, and like one of the prices was she used to quarrel a lot. She used to fight a lot. She used to, everything was dramatic. Everything was, like it wasn't like peaceful, restful. It was enjoyable. You know what I'm saying? It was enjoyable, but there was something like just a lot of drama for no reason. And not just that, it also like it weighed on you. Like it weighed on you spiritually to which your character started to erode. You know what I mean? Your character started to erode. I want to say this, for instance, a lot of times, and I don't know, this is going to come off wrong. Sometimes we got to discuss, like I said, this for every joy there's a price to be paid. So, the joy of me having a free conversation is that the price to be paid is that I'm going to sound a bit of a jerk in a sense. But, one of the things I noticed, and it's not to blame the victim or anything, but a lot of times you will engage with, and this is as a man, you'll engage with a woman who has a history or has a background or has like she tells you that there were she's been with men who were let's say like you understand, domestic abusers in a sense. Now, obviously there's other stuff there's worse things that men are, but anyway, there's men who are domestic abusers, and you'll say to yourself, man, that's horrible, because you don't take part in that kind of stuff. But then, as you're spending more time with these women, right, you realize that they love picking fights with you. And it's like, why are you picking fights? Like, I'm a peaceful, particularly with women, because I'm like, I read this book. I wanted you guys to know this. I read this book called, let me see if I can find it. Can't remember the name, but it's like African Warriors Bible or something like that. It's by Balagon, and one of the things that he says, I think Balagon Ojitade, I think, but he's this great martial artist, and one of the things he writes in the book is that he's teaching you martial arts, but you cannot use it against women, right? He's like, whatever you do with your martial arts, don't use it against black women, right? And so, like, for me, it's like, violence against women, black women is just a no. Just a no. So, like I hear this stuff, but then I'm telling you, like these women, they're talking to you, and it's like, I don't know why. I'm telling you, one of the things, again, like I said, there's a price to be paid even discussing this, but I want to discuss this, right? You'll have, like I'm noticing that a lot of black women are telling me, about their history with like sexual assault and of course domestic abuse, right? I don't see an excuse for either of those things. I'm hoping, you don't engage in that kind of, like you, if you're a man, don't engage in that kind of stuff. But apparently a lot of women are affected by this, right? But the thing with regard to at least the domestic abuse thing, a lot of these women that I've associated with, they like to pick fights with me, or they like to aggravate me. And the thing is that, and like this. Like, that's their intent. Or they even like to hit you. Like, not like, like, oh, let's fight. But like be excessively physical for no reason. Or even, like guys, you understand what I'm saying. Like, guys, you probably know the experience. Okay, everybody left. No, I'm joking. But anyway, but seriously. Like, what I'm talking about. And it's just so bizarre. Because it's like, a weaker man would react, like almost like, if you want to say quid pro quo, like you have to practice self-control and self-restraint a lot of times, and you shouldn't have to, but you realize that a lot of times, and I'm not going to say it's like universal, because it might just be that they are coming from, like, it might be they're coming from a background that's very physical and whatever. It might be that them having that history makes them more physical, you know. But yeah, I'm telling you, they would erode your character, and like for me, when I noticed that, I'm just like, yeah, let me get out of this relationship. You know what I mean? Because this is just toxic. This is not the healing. It's not the uplifting I need. You know, this is clearly an abuser who's like who kind of like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know what to say, but it's not for me. You know what I mean? So that's another thing. Like for every joy is a price we pay. So like I'm saying, like, you know, this woman was like, she was cool. You know, sometimes cooks with me. You know, obviously, you know, there were better things about her too. And of course she was gorgeous. You know, but you know, like fighting people, like, nah. You know what I mean? Like I'm not into that. You know, and I mean, like, it would always, like, it would just keep growing and escalating to the point where, like, you couldn't even because a lot of times when you're in a relationship too, right? I want you to understand, every joy there's a price we pay. A lot of times when you're in a relationship, you know, you start to take up the personality and the words and the phrasings of the next person, you know, and like you kind of keep them too. Well, until you like actively work against them. So I still have some sort of, you know, some idiosyncrasies from like my earlier relationships. You know what I mean? So like that's a whole other thing too. So, you know, again, everything that you enjoy has a price. You know, everything you enjoy has a price. So you have to, like, you want to evaluate that particularly. Like, what is the price? What is the cost? And you know, act accordingly. You know, see whether or not you have that like you can pay for that. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go. Whew. Yeah, I'm mad hungry. I'll be waking up without no food. All right, let's go. Page 5. All right, people are rich in excuses to safeguard their prejudices, instincts, and opinions. So this is another thing too. And this is, like I say, like even if you go back to that example, like I mean, you never really want to blame the victim, but you gotta understand, like that. Or even if you want to say on the other flip side, you can say, look, Odie, maybe that's you. Now, of course, that's not me, but you could say, Odie, you're making excuses to safeguard your own prejudices, instincts, and opinions. You know, and this is the thing I want you to realize too. This is one thing I want to say too. Don't say this to no woman. You know what I mean? Do not say, after she says something, you don't say, you know, people are rich in excuses. That's gonna end your relationship. You know what I mean? That's gonna end your interaction. I've used it maybe twice, and I've never heard from those people again. So don't use that. But I mean, it's a really important thing, right? It's this idea that, realistically speaking, everybody has their prejudices, instincts, and opinions, and 100,000 excuses for them. Now, obviously, you can overwhelm them, overcome them, but the reality being that the way things are going right now in this world is the way things are going to be going. It's like until something dramatic happens. You know, like you need a Garvey to shock you into the belief of black dignity. You know, but without Garvey, and Garvey's going to be meticulous, and he's going to be working every angle. That's why sometimes when we talk about, oh, why is Garvey talking about Christianity? Well, because a lot of people were in church. You know what I mean? A lot of people were in church, so he's just telling you, like, even if you're in church and you're like, hey, I don't believe that black people are, because I have a like I said, I had a church friend who just couldn't get along with this, you know, black idea, you know, because of the Bible. And eventually he went and married a white woman, you know? But that was the whole point of the freaking church. But the idea is this, that, you know, you're going to be rich in excuses. So what Garvey does, in going after the church too, I want to say this, is that, we're going after the church folk, is that he says, you know what? Jesus was black. You know what I mean? You know, or whatever. You get what I'm saying? Like you have to, or, you know, let's say Jehovah's black or whatever, or Jehovah has no color or whatever. You know, the point being that you have to go after the excuses that people are making. You know, people are rich in excuses. So if you're really trying to go after people, go after their excuses. You know, and this is actually something, again, like I said, this is something that you could use throughout your life. I probably didn't say that, but, you know, just something you say to emphasize stuff. But or something I say to emphasize stuff. But you another like for instance that same woman that I eventually messed up with, whatever, or that eventually was like some low key abuser, right? One time she asked me my age. She's an older lady, right? So she's using that as an excuse to go away from me, right? So I tell her, because I'm a younger man, I say, well, youth means energy. You know what I'm saying? Youth means, like you afraid you can't keep up, that kind of stuff. And she's intrigued. You know what I'm saying? Like you got to know what the excuses are for a woman. Uh, one of the this is like one of the coolest lines you could use, and I actually used it once, and I almost, actually worked. But I mean, it almost worked. Well, a woman says she got a boyfriend, right? So you tell her, well, great. That means we know somebody that can watch the kids. You know what I'm saying? Well, you know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, you don't really want a woman with a boyfriend, but and obviously, I took that from the internet. But anyway, the point being though that you gotta know the excuses that people are making if you really want to overcome, if you really want to change their prejudices, instincts, and opinions. That's how it works. That's why when I was younger, Malcolm X's line, "Do you know what a black person with a PhD is?" And then he says, "Nigger." Right? I don't know. I shouldn't say the word, but still, right? When he said that, it was like, whoa, all this time I was thinking I'm gonna go get a PhD and I'll be respected and all that stuff, and then, lo and behold, I won't be respected. You know what I mean? Like you have to go after the excuses people make. You have to go after the ambitions people have, or whatever it is, or just the mental gymnastics they use to justify being inactive or doing the wrong thing or not doing the right thing. And when you do that, that's where you can be more effective. And I know you're saying, oh, you're not even that effective. You're not even that effective. There's 3 people listening to you right now, or 4 people listening to you right now, and nobody's typing to you, and only 2 likes, right? I mean, yeah, that's on you though. You could be typing, right? Or you could be sharing the video. Anyway, but yeah, this is some good advice. This is some good advice. I don't know why y'all sleeping on this. And this right here, I think this is Ancient Ancestors. I don't even think about it. I think no. The other one is one of the ones that I was going to do for the class that was supposed to be in January, but like 3 people signed up. You know what I mean? That's just not enough. So because not enough people signed up, we couldn't even go over this class. So again, if you wanted to do this class, that's one thing. But if not, that's fine, because I'm working on these essays, and that essay is going to be hopefully that could constitute a class, better class. But look here, page 6, and this is the last page too. So if you're holding back on commenting, now's the time to let go. All right. But let's go. Page 6. If one wants to be friendly with wolves, one must first sharpen one's spear. And this is like the crocodile and the frog and all that kind of stuff. You can be friendly with wolves. All right. You can be friendly with wolves, but you have to be able to kill a wolf. Okay? You can be friendly with white folk, but you have to be able to kill white folk. You can't have white folk just walking all over you, because when they're just walking all over you, you're not really friends. You're not really friends. What's happening is that you're being abused, you're being raped, you're being oppressed, you're being destroyed, you're being colonized. It's a whole different story. I want to tell you guys, so if you don't know, I have a Twitter. Make sure you follow. If you follow me, just let me know that you're following me because you're on the, because you like the podcast. That way I could follow back maybe. I don't know. But, because I don't know who's or even if you got the books, make sure you follow me and let me know. I can follow back, because I'll tell you, a lot of stuff on Twitter is just like, I don't want to, a lot of y'all just talking about, I don't know, whatever you're talking about. But, the thing I want to say about this is, so somebody on Twitter says, hey, is there an African word for homosexuality? And they're like, realistically speaking, I have to point it out. I said, look, there actually isn't a word anywhere for homosexuality. The word that we are using, homosexual, is a compound between homo, which is a Greek word for same, and sexual, which is Latin for, whatever. Maybe sexual, I don't know. But the idea is that it's a compound between between Greek and Latin. But what that means is that there isn't even an English word for it. There isn't a French word for it. I looked up the French word and I thought it might be, it's homosexuality. You know what I mean? Like that's it. So the idea is that there wasn't a word period for it. There wasn't even a concept for it. But not that there wasn't a concept for same. So somebody who was exclusively attracted to the same sex, right? There just wasn't even a concept for that. Even the Greeks didn't have that. They had, but what they had was, so somebody, on Twitter, I can actually read the comment because, like I said, you can follow me on Twitter. I don't usually talk about this stuff, uh, but somebody did a thing. So somebody decides to call it, like they say, oh yeah, homosexuality is a mental illness. It's like, no, it's not. I wouldn't say it's. So I said, look, I don't think it's a mental illness. All right. I said I wouldn't call it a mental illness. There's a long history of white men raping other white and non-white men, and homosexuality, by and by, seems to be an extension of that. I think it's more something whites do and are weakly trying to suppress. But the idea is this: that white people, like essentially, this is what like when you're friends with, like essentially they will engage in these kind of relationships in or what if you want to call it, whatever, in ancient Greece, where they would take young boys and do that to young boys, or if they're like in a war, they will do that to soldiers. One of these speakers, I think it was Baruti, no, not Baruti, Irritated Genie. He had, I don't know why he showed it, but he had a video or a documentary or whatever of these, like today, like they're in the Congo, like you're in the Congolese prison, and these white men are raping you, possibly even black men, but like men are raping men, in the prisons, and that's just like that has a psychological toll. Obviously, that's also gross and disgusting. And one of the reasons why I'm not interested in being arrested, people be like, "Hey man, you want to go do a crime?" Like, nah, not really, man. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like solitary confinement is one thing, having to work for low pay is one thing, but getting raped, nah, sorry. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. But like what you have to realize is that this was something that is like going on, and so maybe there might be white folk who voluntarily play with this, or maybe they have the psychological problem, because a lot of the people who do end up being quote unquote homosexual have a history of being sexually assaulted as children. Like a lot of the men do have a history, just like a lot of the quote unquote porn stars, like white porn stars, or if you will, or pornographers or whatever, have a history of sexual assault or rape or something along those lines. So it's if you're going to be friend, like even if you think people are friendly with you, or if you think this, and so forth, you have to sharpen your spear in the sense that, not only are people going to take advantage of you and try to hurt you and harm you, but what friendship looks like to a wolf isn't really something that you will want, And this is something this is something that you have to understand about white folk, is that white folk, have an agenda for you, whether or not you know about it. And I mean that was a little bit of a tangent, so understand me when I log off. But yeah, that's so far the entire warship. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions, concerns, or comments, now is not the time because it's over. But yeah, hopefully I can hear from you next week. And thank you for joining me this week. Have a great week coming, and Shemi Hotep. Uncle Johnson Avenel, Amen Ma'at, Dua Nesher.